I've always had like this vision of my life and this path. And, you know, when things kind of don't go the way as planned and trajectory takes you on a different route, I think it can, looking back, I'm like, I'm grateful for that time. It was a challenging year, but I think even here I am now, I think everything's meant to be, everything happens for a reason. And I'm really proud of myself for where I came through that last year and where I am now, but definitely had its up and downs.
Hello and welcome back to Rinkside Rundown, the podcast that brings you inside the world of women's hockey, one story at a time. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and today on the show, I'm thrilled to be joined by Reece Hunt, a native of Nelson, British Columbia, who is signed with the Ottawa Charge of the PWHL. Reece, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. Excited to be here.
Great. Yes, same with me. We have so much to cover. And I want to start back at the beginning of your story. Seems like a natural launching point for a conversation. Do you remember what it was about hockey that drew you in and sparked that passion all those years ago?
Yeah, I think it started at a young age. I have two older brothers that also played the game. So whether it was my choice or not, I think it was inevitable that I was going to play hockey. So I think the love of the game came at a young age and just stuck with it and was kind of living in the rink. So had no choice really.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you brought that up because so your household full of not just hockey fans but hockey players. Your brothers both played, and your dad played at the University of British Columbia. When you think about growing up in that environment, again, not just hockey fans but players themselves, what was that experience like for you? Did you feel pressure that you had to pursue hockey, or did you also feel a lot of support because there was a mutual understanding of what that journey looked like?
Yeah, I don't think it was pressure per se. I think it was more of a motivation, if anything. You know, sports and hockey was kind of at the forefront of our family, and it was something that we were heavily involved in, and we obviously valued a lot. And just growing up with that support and having brothers to look up to, I think it was just more so inspiring. Maybe there was some pressure. Pressure is, I guess, a privilege, but not in any negative way. I think it was just always what I knew I was going to do, and I had all the support in the world from my family members.
I'm so glad that you brought up that quote because it's one of my favorite in that pressure is privilege.
Yeah,
It may not feel like it in the moment, but certainly in hindsight,
for
it's
sure.
helpful to look at it that way. Um, Fast forwarding just a little bit to your time with the Kootenay Wildcats and then later on with the Okanagan Prep, what, when you reflect on that time in those programs, what about those years in your development sort of stand out to you? Both, I think, of course, on the ice because you're developing on the ice, but also as a person. I'd love to hear that perspective as well.
Yeah. Gosh, it feels like a lifetime ago, but when I was growing up, there wasn't a lot of women's hockey for me to play in, just being in small town of Nelson. So I competed with boys a lot until I was old enough to participate in the Wildcats. And at that time, we were probably a small team of maybe 15 from all over the Kootenays. And just looking at it as what it is now is so incredible. They have so many youth women's or little girls hockey teams. So that side of it, I'm just so proud to see the growth.
Mhm.
But as for me, when I was going through it, I think, I don't know, I was just a young girl who loved to play hockey. And I was given great opportunities by my parents to pursue that dream at Okanagan Hockey Academy and, you know, play with that prep team. So I think it was great for me and my development and obviously to get me to that next level, which is college. But I look back at those years with just like, I'm so grateful that my parents did give me that opportunity, that that was available to me. It was only like 4 hours from my hometown, so it was still close enough. But I really value those years, and I think it like helped me grow and prepare me for college and kind of put me in the best position for that.
What was that switch like for you to go from playing boys hockey to playing with the girls for the first time? How did that go for you?
It was good. I think um, I was young. I don't remember the exact age, but to me, hockey was hockey. I loved playing with the boys. You know, those were some of my best friends as well. But to play with those girls, I was young when I kind of started competing with the Wildcats. So it was exciting, you know, I, like, got to look up to these girls, some that also went on to play college hockey, so I think that's just a little girl's dream is, you know, getting to play with the older girls, so, yeah, it was a great experience, and I liked both. I have nothing bad to say about either.
Good, I love that. You've also had the opportunity to represent your home province in Team BC at the U18 Nationals. You brought home a couple of bronze medals in 2016 and 2017. Um, During that time, when you think about, the level of competition, your teammates, your opponents, that's really high level hockey at that point. What did that teach you, those experiences teach you about the type of player you wanted to become? And then maybe what kind of path it might take you on to get to that level?
Yeah, I think it was very eye-opening for a small town girl like me coming from Nelson. For me, that was my Olympic stage at the time, you know, that was kind of the closest thing I got to the national team, so that was my everything, that was my goal, that was, like, what I was striving for. So much fun, I got to compete in 3 different, events. My last year was in Red Deer where it was a Canada game, so that was super special, super exciting to be a part of for my last year. But yeah, that was my everything at that time in my life, so I was just grateful to be a part of it, and yeah, like I said, I think it was very eye-opening to the talent out there, and now even having 2 BC girls on my team here in Ottawa is such a full circle because Kate Riley, I went through it for 3 years with, and then also played with Kendra, I think 1 or 2 years, so anyway, it's just full circle, and to see these girls also move on and now be in the PW, it's so cool to look back and think, like, we were all, you know, in that position together at one point.
I'd love to now fast forward to your collegiate experience. Um, you started your collegiate career at Bemidji, but I would like to start by asking what made the NCAA and the most, in this case, ultimately the destination in which you pursued, as opposed to maybe choosing to stay here in Canada within what it is now as U Sports.
Yeah, I don't, I'm not sure, I just think NCAA was always kind of the goal, I don't think, you know, where I was, I think that was just the end all be all. I don't think I really looked at a different route. Um, you know, you see the Canadian leagues having great success, so that's also awesome. But NCAA and the WCHA was definitely where I wanted to be and spend my 4 and then plus 1 year. Um, so that was kind of my tunnel vision was getting into the WCHA.
And what made Bemidji State the right starting point for what you said, 4 years there, right? What
Yeah.
made that the right landing spot for you as you look to continue pursuing hockey, but obviously in your career, collegiate career?
Yeah, I think there's lots that went into it. Them as a hockey team, they were a contending team at
Mm.
the time when I was, you know, in high school, and I think that was super intriguing and exciting for me as a hockey player. I wanted to go and I wanted to be a part of a winning culture, and that was something they had to offer. And then also, it just honestly, it just felt right. It felt like home. Like I said, I'm from small town Nelson, and
Mm.
Bemidji gave me that feel when I went. I went, met the coaches, went on a visit with my dad, and both of us, we just kind of knew after leaving that meeting that that was where I was going to spend my 4 years. And it was on like the best 4 years of my life. I wouldn't change it for anything. So, although, like, you know, our hockey, it wasn't maybe the way I'd hoped or planned, and we weren't competing for national championships every year, but just the journey, the process, the people I met, I think for my family it was such a fun place to visit. Um, so, yeah, I wouldn't change it for anything.
Could you maybe talk about what that process was like in selecting ultimately, obviously, like we've said, you landed at Bemidji, but that's not an easy decision to kind of narrow it down. Sometimes, of course, it just like you said, it feels like home, but there are a lot of
Yeah.
different options out there. And
Yeah,
maybe especially at such a young age, it can kind of maybe seem a little bit daunting at that point to
for
choose,
sure.
this is where I'm going to pursue my hockey career. What was that process overall like for you? Do you remember that, what it was like
Yeah,
to go through
I
that?
think it was a whirlwind. I think, you know, I was young, so my parents probably took the brunt of it, you know, being the ones planning the travel. And at that time, it was all unofficial visits. So it was up to me to get there. And I think some things were taken care of. But of course, it was just a lot of research. I didn't know a whole lot. Like, I didn't have a lot of people paving that way for me just from my small town. So I wasn't aware of a lot. I did, I think, maybe like 10 different visits. So I definitely, yeah, got around and, did my research. And like I said, Bemidji, I actually knew of Bemidji because my fiance now is from Trail and he was there.
Mm.
So I knew of Bemidji probably more than any other school. So I kind of had good feeling going into it anyways, but yeah, we really went in blind. We didn't know a whole lot, but it just felt right.
Sometimes that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
The transition to college hockey. Let's talk about that. What was that transition like, and what did it teach you, not just about, of course, the hockey player that you were and ultimately became, but off the ice as well?
Yeah, I think OHA, Okanagan Hockey Academy, really prepped me well. I had to move away from home. I was living with a billet family, so I already had some sort of independence that I had to take on at a young age. So it wasn't a complete shock factor going into freshman year and being on my own. But there's definitely it's a big transition. At that point you're playing with women and
Mhm.
these females that have been in the league for 4 years, and yeah, you gotta grow up quick, and I think you learn that quickly when you go in freshman year. Just about like now you're balancing school, you're balancing hockey, and you're balancing a social life. And I think it's things you learn from others on your team, but I think I learned that quickly. I had my family came and visited lots, so I'm so grateful for that. I had them there lots, but I don't know. It's a journey. I think every person figures it out their own way, but yeah, yeah, it was enjoyable.
How did you find the balance of school, of course, academics being at that level, playing hockey at that level, and then also having some sort of hopeful social life outside of that as
Yeah.
well? How did you find that balance in navigating that, of course, as your collegiate career progressed?
Yeah, I think we're given, every opportunity to succeed when you're a part of a hockey team at a university. So whether it was an academic advisor helping us, whether it was our coaches like helping plan our schedule, I think we're given the chance to do well, and it's just up to you to kind of take that on and work hard. I think now I've learned that it's immensely helped me, like moving forward with time management. I seem to maybe juggle too many things at a time because I think I can. But yeah, it's a challenge. You can't put too much time into any which thing. I think a big thing I preached and, my coaches in the past have preached is like when you step into the rink, like when you open that door, then you're rink time. And once you leave, that's your time to, divide up social life and work towards your school. So I think it's up to each person. Yeah, but I think it served me well for sure moving forward.
And sometimes you get a crash course in it and just have to figure it out as you go. So that's
For
totally
sure.
that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Um, As your time at Bemidji came to an end, you also actually moved into an assistant captain role with the team as well. What moments or lessons do you recall that really stand out to you about ultimately the lessons you learned about leadership and leading that team and and you as a person as well?
I think I was just led by so many great leaders in the past that you learn from them, you want to be like them. I think there's no one leader that's going to have every single aspect that a leader requires, or that's something that you try to kind of live by. So, I didn't try and be someone I wasn't. I wasn't going to step in the room and be this loud hero that maybe I'm not. Like, I just wanted to more so lead by example. Show the girls the ropes, kind of just be a good person, be a good teammate, and like hopefully that can kind of be contagious throughout the locker room. I think every leader has their role in something they kind of pride themselves in. So it's important to just like stay true to who you are, and hopefully everyone's a little piece of the puzzle and it kind of makes a great team. But it's the challenge. Like, I went through 3 years and you just get to be a player and you get to play hockey and be a student. And then when you're a leader, like it's definitely an added responsibility. It's kind of being that middleman, having to, relay things from the coaches to the players. So as much as it is a privilege, it's definitely it's a component that can be challenging. But I had so much pride in being a leader. It's such a privilege and such an honor. So definitely grateful for that year.
And then following that, you ended up transferring to UMD. So before we get into what that experience was like, could you just maybe talk about the decision to ultimately come back for that fifth year and to pursue that fifth year at UMD?
Yeah, I think the 5th year, wasn't a question. I was gonna take it. I felt like my time wasn't done. And I think for me, I just wanted something new. Like, I put a lot into my 4 years at Bemidji State. I'm very proud of those 4 years, but I just wanted something new. I saw a path for myself to, play professional hockey, and I thought Duluth was maybe the best position for me to get there. Obviously, Morkel and Laura Schuler, like, they're the top of the top tier people, coaches, and I felt like I had so much to gain from them. And I really did. Like, I learned so much about myself as a hockey player. So I think it was a great experience, and of course, like, I it's nothing against Bemidji. I That was the hardest conversation I probably had today, was to tell my coach that, I was gonna move on, but, I think it was great for me to experience something new and to just grow as a person and a player.
During your, and this goes for your entire collegiate career, you earned quite a number of academic awards. And I could spend the rest of the show talking about each one of those because there are so many. But I wanted to know from your perspective, it's obvious that school, um, just as hockey, is just as important to you, getting that education, earning that education. What kept you so driven on the academic side, while you were also, again, like we've talked about, balancing all of these things at such an elite level? What kept you motivated on the academic side?
I think academics for me was just like a non-negotiable, at a young age. Like, it was something my parents kind of drilled into me and my brothers that, we're expected to get good grades. I think I have, parents and grandparents who I've seen work hard and, just been successful in their jobs because of their hard work and their education. It was just something that I just was going to pride myself in. So I think also the other aspect is, and I think there's a few things, is like, one day, hockey's everything to me right now. And, it's a dream for a lot of us, but it's not forever. And, there's not a lot of stability in this job, but like, that's okay. We're living the dream. So I think one day, like, I'm gonna want some stability. I'm gonna want a family, have children. So I think, having something to fall back on, is so important. And like, I'm so glad I put the work in and the time in to get that education. So hopefully one day I'll use it, but who knows when, but it'll serve me well at some point.
Yeah, hopefully that's a lot further down the line, but it's nice to know that it's there and it's an
Yeah,
option.
for sure.
Um, So I want to go now to your time in Europe and some of the adversity that you've, fortunately enough, I guess, in a way, overcome. But I want to talk about Europe. And
Yep.
you went to the SDHL, you played with Luleå. What drew you to that location, that program at this point in your career?
Yeah, I think, like, obviously Luleå has a great track record. They have a winning mentality there. They've obviously won a lot of championships, so I think that was obviously something I wanted to dive right into. The draft obviously didn't go how I had hoped, how I'd planned, and I think I saw Luleå as a great opportunity to hopefully get back there as a bit of a stepping stone. And also just like playing with some of the most talented players in the world. Like, I was honestly blown away when I got there to see the level of compete and talent in this league. So it was a great 5 games. I think I learned a lot, and yeah,
And you saw a lot of production in that short period of time as well. And then, unfortunately, suffered a season-ending knee injury. Um, whenever an athlete suffers an injury, however severe it may be, the time away from ice when you're so used to being at the rink, on the ice, working out, spending time being around your teammates, that can be really tough. That can be a really big challenge in and of itself. Of course, the injury, the rehab of the injury, that's certainly a big part of it, but not being around your teammates and at the ice the same way that you're so used to,
yeah.
can be really, it can teach you a lot about yourself. So could you maybe talk about what that experience was like for you to not be able to do the thing you love so much, and how that process went for you as you were coming back from that
Yeah,
knee injury?
definitely. Yeah. So I think, you said it, like when you're moving to Sweden to play hockey and to be a hockey player, and when that's the one thing that's taken from you, it was really challenging, honestly. It wasn't just, like a 6-week injury, it was like out for the year. So
Mhm.
I think I learned a lot about myself in that time. I think I was able to grow in places that I probably never would have otherwise. I think I've always had like this vision of my life and this path. And, when things kind of don't go the way as planned and trajectory takes you on a different route, I think looking back, I'm grateful for that time that I, had to pick up different hobbies, whether it was crocheting or puzzling or random things that I never thought I'd have to do. I was like videoing my progress to like just try and get myself through that next week, just keep pushing. So it
Mhm.
was a challenging year just being in Sweden. It's dark, it's way up north, different time zones. But I think my family, the support of, my fiance, my family, my in-laws, like couldn't have done it without them. And it was a challenging year, but I think I like even here I am now. I think everything's meant to be. Everything happens for a reason, and I'm really proud of myself for where I came through that last year and where I am now. But definitely had its up and downs.
Let's talk now about Ottawa. Okay, so obviously this is your current spot. You are now in Ottawa. You are now a part of this team. Could you talk about how that opportunity maybe arose and how excited and your thoughts on being now a part of the Ottawa Charge in the PWHL?
Yeah, it's so exciting. It came at a time when I was really least expecting it. So just to be here, I'm so grateful for this opportunity. Um, I obviously didn't get drafted this year, and my agent and I had been talking to teams before and after the draft, and just at that time, it didn't feel right. I didn't feel in a place where I was maybe ready to go to a camp. Just with my knee, just some other things in my life, I felt like it wasn't the right time. So I was actually living in the UK with my fiance. He plays hockey, and yeah, I just got the call and I felt like it was a great opportunity. I thought it was, I really missed it when I was there. There was nights where I felt like I was missing something. So to get this call just felt like everything I kind of needed and wanted to hear. So got the opportunity to come back and yeah, I thought it was just, yeah, great timing. And now here I am, super excited to be here and a part of this program. And yeah, very grateful.
What excites you most about being a part of this organization? And obviously, it's an organization that last year is, had a run right up until the end.
Yeah.
Just being a part of this organization, what excites you most?
I think just the people within it. I've respected Carla and known Carla for years, so now to play under her is super great, super exciting. And then just the players, of course, I played with Manon and Liv at UMD. Gabby Hughes was there before me, so all big names, all girls that I'm very close with. So just to be here with them, I don't think, if they weren't here, maybe this opportunity wouldn't be what it is. And so I'm just super excited to be a part of it with them. Obviously, there's 2 BC girls, so there was just so many connections that kind of aligned for me, and yeah, so I think it's just the personnel within the group.
How does it help knowing to make that transition now to a pro league, another pro league rather, but have some familiarity in a city you haven't played in Ottawa before. So now you're coming to a city, but you have familiarity with, Kendra and obviously Manon, and as you mentioned, a few other players as well. What kind of difference does that make for you, knowing some of the faces, as opposed to maybe something you would experience when you went to the SDHL?
Yeah, I think it was, like, incredibly comforting. It was something that I really, like, thought about a lot, and, having them just really helped me kinda solidify that decision. And even just the on ice aspect, like I miss, me and Liv and Manon, like I played with both of them. Like I'm excited to get back on the ice with them. And then just having that support system. Obviously, like moving away from family again, just having those people that are close to me kind of in the same area is just so important to me. And yeah, so it definitely made the transition a lot easier.
Of course. Okay. Final section of today's show is a fun little game that just kind of a bunch of random questions that I'm going to throw at you. And really, this is just it's mostly a test for me to ask the fewest follow-up questions possible. We call it the final buzzer segment of the show. Are you
Okay.
ready to take the test?
I am.
Okay, perfect. First up, what is your go-to pregame meal?
I like to keep it plain, probably just like chicken and rice, maybe some broccoli. Not too picky though, so I could really mix it up, but that'd probably be my go-to.
Okay. I've heard poutine as a pregame meal, and I thought that was a bold choice.
Okay, I'm not picky, but I'm not I'd be
Yeah,
going with poutine
maybe
for a
after the game.
pregame.
Maybe
It'd
after
be
the
a
game.
slow moving game.
Exactly, yeah. After a tough shift, a long practice, or a game, how do you like to unwind?
I think probably just coming home, talking to family. I think that's the biggest thing. I think it's good to kind of get your head away from the rink a little bit. So probably whether it's, calling family, talking to maybe my nephew, just kind of resetting, getting back to the roots a bit.
Love it. Is there a song or artist that always helps you get focused before puck drop? So in your pregame warm up, is there an artist, a song in particular that once it's
Yeah.
played on the playlist, that's the one that hits?
Honestly, like I'm all over the map. My friends always get mad at me because I don't have a certain genre, but I could be listening to Zach Bryan, Post Malone, Drake, and it would all get me hyped. So I'm easygoing when it comes to the music. So yeah, no one person, but I love a Lewis Capaldi, but that's definitely not a
Mm,
hype up pregame music genre, but I'm into it all.
that's okay. I like that. If your teammates had to sum you up in one word, what do you think that word would be?
Ooh, maybe just like fun, chill, easy going,
Okay. Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah.
Off the ice, yeah.
That's fair. Okay. What's the best advice or some of the best advice that a coach or maybe a teammate or maybe your parents or someone has given you that still sticks with you to this day?
I think I mentioned earlier, just, that pressure is a privilege. I think we can get so wrapped up in, feeling the pressure and the intensity and the overwhelming feelings and being kind of, you know, dragged down or whatever. But it is a privilege and I really try to value that in my life.
I love that. As I was asking the question, I was wondering, is that the advice she's going to go with? And that's sound advice. So great pick.
Yeah.
Um, if you could speak to your younger self all the way back in Nelson, British Columbia, what do you think you would tell her about the journey ahead?
Oh, I just think it's an exciting journey full of lots of opportunity. So I think, don't get too high, too low. Like just enjoy the journey for what it is and take it all in
Sometimes it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So
for
I
sure.
like that. Last one for you. When you look at everything you've gone through to get to this moment right now with the Ottawa Charge, the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, what are you most grateful for today?
My family.
All right. Simple answer, profound answer, and a great way to
Yeah.
wrap up today's episode. Reese, thank you so much for taking the time, joining the show, sharing your journey. It's been absolutely incredible. This time flew by. I can't wait to see you at the rink. But I really, really appreciate you taking the time. I know that I speak for all Ottawa Charge fans when I say I can't wait to see you hit the ice. Also, good luck this season.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. And I'm excited to get out there.
Awesome. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow hockey fans. Your support helps me to keep bringing you stories just like this one from around the world of women's hockey. I'm Chris Sinclair. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time on Rinkside Rundown.